Hello, this is David Bogovin, and the purpose of this video is to show students how to use Google Docs software program to format their papers in MLA formatting. First of all, I want to show you that there is a handy reference for MLA, which is updated by Purdue University. So let me open up that screen, and it's handy to have as a reference guide. I've been writing papers for many years now, and so I'm somewhat familiar with the MLA, but even with my experience, I have to double check and look at things. The last time they updated the MLA was in April of 2016, and so they occasionally change things. So Purdue University has this great resource called the OWL Online Writing Lab, and they have different guides for different formatting styles. We're going to be focused on MLA. And they have a helpful overview. They also have many different pages because there's different types of sources that you can use, and depending on what kind of source you're going to use, that's going to affect the works cited page especially. But what I find helpful is their sample paper that they have, which shows you what it is supposed to look like. Textbooks often have such a resource as well. They have helpful text boxes over on the side here showing you what it should be, what it should look like. So, for example, on your title on the paper, titles are centered and written in 12-point Times New Roman font. The title is not bolded, underlined, or italicized. So that's how that is supposed to appear. Let's get into the program itself, and I can show you. The reason I'm making this video is because often the default settings for the programs are not in the way that they need to be for MLA. Let's open up the Google Docs. As a student, you automatically have access to what they call the G Suite of programs, which is all of the Google-based programs. And so I encourage you to use this. I'm going to make another video to show how to set up the MLA formatting using the Microsoft Word program, which is another popular common word processing program. I made the switch about, I think, 3 to 5 years ago, and I initially resisted Google Docs because initially the functionality was not the same as Word. But the benefits of Google Docs, and also I feel like they improved their program, is one of the reasons that I made the switch. So right off the bat, I noticed that the font type is Arial. That's a perfectly fine font to use. I kind of prefer what they call a serif font. Arial is a sans serif font, meaning a serif are small little marks that are on the ends of letters, and for some reason I sort of like those. So my font type of choice lately has been something called Georgia, but you can also use Times New Roman. Any of the basic font types you can use is probably fine. You wouldn't want something overly fancy like this, or Comic Sans is probably out as well. So whatever you want to use. And so I'll type, first of all, you type your name. So whatever your name is. And then right away when I'm hitting the enter key, I'm noticing that it's not double spacing the document, and I want it to be, the whole document should be double spaced using MLA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole thing, and then I'm going to go into the format menu, and then they have a submenu called line spacing, and I'm going to set that to double. While I'm in this menu, I want to point out that these two options, adding a space before or after a paragraph should not be selected in MLA. Okay, so that's automatically putting me to the next line down. Then you put your instructor's name. I happen to have a PhD, so I am a doctor, but it feels kind of strange to identify myself as such. Then the class name. This is something that's not MLA, but I prefer it. It's if you can put a colon after the class name and then the assignment that you're working on. That way, especially towards the end of a term when assignments start piling up on me, I can instantly tell, looking at the document, what assignment it is that I'm grading. Then the date. They prefer it in this kind of funky format, but I don't think most instructors are going to penalize you for doing a date a different way, but this is the approved way of doing the date in MLA. All right, so far I've been in left alignment, which is what most of the text is, but for a title you need to change the alignment. So they have this handy button in Google Docs to do that. Again, referencing back on the page that we were looking at on the Purdue, the title does not have any fancy font or underlining or anything. So note that when I'm typing up my title, though, most of the words are capitalized on the first letter. If there is a word like the or a or and, those are called articles, or prepositions in the middle, then those are not capitalized. But the first and last word of a title is always capitalized. Okay, now we'd be in the body of the paper. And I want to indent new paragraphs in the body of the paragraph in the body of the paper. So you can use this toolbar bar feature and just drag the top part of that over to the 1/2 inch mark. That's going to set it at a 1/2 inch. Now imagine I'm writing. Wouldn't it be cool if you could actually type this fast? So it instantly is doing the indent for me with the toolbar tool up here. Then let's say this is a new paragraph. It's going to be indenting for me, etc., etc. On the margins of the page, the way to control that is through, in the File menu, there's this page setup. And so you want 1 inch margins on that. So that's good. Before you get too far along in Google Docs, I also would recommend that you title the document whatever it is, because otherwise you're going to have tons of unnamed documents and you're not going to know what it is. So I'm just going to call this Boghovan Rhetorical Analysis 1. And you can store it in different folders, the same way that you would in any other program, probably. Another thing that you might want to add sooner rather than later are the headers. So in MLA, on just the opening page, you have this identifying information in the top left-hand corner. On the top right-hand corner of every page, you want a header which includes your last name and page number. So under Insert, go to Page Numbers, and the first one here in the upper left-hand corner is what you want. For some reason, it uses the Arial font on that, so you would want to match whatever font type you're using. And then to the left of the page number, you type in your last name and a space, and that's it. Then when you go to New Pages, you automatically get the header. If you try to do that manually, then every time you insert new content or subtract content, it's going to be putting that in a strange place. Also, I've found that different computers can interpret the spaces differently. Meaning, if to get to a new page, I recommend doing what's called the hard page break, which is CTRL, Control, and Enter at the same time. If you just hit Enter over and over again to get to a new page, it's going to put that page break in different places depending on what computer you use. Let's say that the paper is over at this point and I want to do a works cited page. Let me show you how to do that. First of all, take this back to 0 so that that is gone. And on the top of a works cited page, you type works cited. And then the entries are also left aligned, but they have a different style of indenting, which is called a hanging indent. To get the hanging dent, again, use this blue thing up here. Drag both of them this time over to the half mark, and then drag just the top part back to the 0. And then, let me show you what that looks like. So you're typing your entry. If it goes to a second line, then the next line is automatically indented. If you try to use the tab key, I've found that that doesn't work well, and it is difficult. So then when you go to the next line hitting enter, it takes you back to the left margin. Works cited pages are organized alphabetically in MLA, which is the same as APA, which is a nice common thread that they both have, but then they have slightly different formatting based on the fact that it's MLA or APA. In APA, for example, you don't put the author's first full name. You just put the first initial of their first name. Also in APA, you put the date of publication right after the author's name. In MLA, it's a little bit different. The basic format in MLA is author's last name, comma, first name, period, and then the title. So depending on what kind of a source it is, you format the title slightly differently. If it's a shorter piece, like an essay, a short poem, something like that, you use quotation marks to surround the title. In a longer source, you italicize that. So like a feature-length film, a novel, a book, an epic poem, a video game, all of those titles are supposed to be italicized. After the title would come the publication information. If you're getting it through the internet, starting in the April 2016 update, they want you to include the URL and then also the access date. If you want to know more information about how to format these entries, you can again refer back to the Purdue OWL. So let's say it's an electronic source. Here's the basic pattern. And then here's, kind of a template that you can use for the entry that you're using. I think that that's all that I have to share with you, and I'm going to make another video that is using the Microsoft Word program to do the same thing of setting up the document. This is try to avoid what I call WTF formatting, which is when I look at it and I think, what the F? So anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. Thanks.